see, CertPro is essentially a consortium of lead auditors, lead implementers, and consultants. And we essentially started out back in 2012, and it started as a very small team, 7-8 member team. Over time, it grew, and we have now taken this organization from then, like from a young 7-8 member team to today being a 70 plus member organization. We are spread across 10 global locations, out of which 3 of these locations we have our own entity set up. So one in India, then we have another entity set up in Muscat, Oman, that caters to the Gulf region, and we have another entity set up in Accra, Ghana, very recently now, to cater to the African continent. Now, that's a little bit about the organization itself. Personally, I'm currently heading the information security team, audit team here at CertPro. Now, I am an ISO 27001 lead auditor. I've been doing this. I've just renewed my second cycle of the lead auditorship now. I'm a CISA now currently, a certified information systems auditor. And I'm also a GDPR assessor and a HIPAA assessor. I also support the information security team on audit processes for various other frameworks, like SOC 2 is something that we've started supporting currently. HITRUST is also something that we're looking at, and and we've been working with Sprinto now for like a good, a little more than a year now. It's been a year and a half, I suppose. Pre-compliance automation, all projects that came to us under the banner of CertPro were all for the entire implementation of information security standards, and then also the audit and certification parts and the processes that followed later on, surveillance 1, 2, internal audit support, so on and so forth. So the consulting team would do their work. And when I say they would do their work, we came up with this methodology of going through a 9-step process. So projects were long, to be honest, and very, very, very human resource centric. Like we needed people. Consulting team had to be very hands-on. They would have to go to clients' locations, to their premises, because pre-pandemic, everyone worked out of offices. The whole concept of work from home didn't exist back then. So then the entire implementation had to happen on ground, in person. It would take anywhere between 3 to 4 months, depending on the size of the organization, just for the implementation to go through. And that's the consulting side. Coming to the audit side of things, so the pre-compliance automation era required us to sit and interview people a lot in person, and required us to go and talk to tons of people to get the evidences we require, because not one person would maintain it. There would be a compliance officer, yes. There would be a CISO, yes. But not all of the requirements in terms of evidence would be maintained by that one individual. So whatever was a part of the scope, all of those teams had to be, interviewed, and we had to interview them and audit them individually. That was how we used to do it. We'd then come back, make our notes, collect all of it, sit down, then get down to the audit reporting, which would probably take another half a day or 1 day. So the entire audit itself was like a good 2, 3, 4 days process. Sprinto has been very pivotal in just opening our eyes in that aspect. And I'll be very honest, because we have all of the controls that we got here and we want to audit. We have a specific evidence already provided to us on the Sprinto tool, like AWS. And AWS itself has like so many checks that we would want to go through and check. If you're using, let's say, a Jira or a GitHub, whatever it is that you're using for change management and for code control. And then it's also plugged into Sprinto today. And so we have a very clear view of who has access to what, because that's a huge part of things that we want to look at. And also because a lot of these checks fail if it's not sitting correctly, it shows up on the Sprinto tool, which means the client has to go ahead and work on it. So the technical side of things just made sense to us in so many ways, because all I had to do was go ahead and start looking at the tool to find the various compliance requirements that I had specific to do with your AWS, the GitHub, or a Jira, or even if people were using, let's say, an MS365, and if they were using systems, were they updated, not updated? Has it, does it have an antivirus or not? The technical side of things was just very, very clear and taken care of. We also have the training acknowledgement, the policy and procedure acknowledgement. We have an internal assessment that's carried out. So we have a report that's generated for that. And we have a management review acknowledgement of that internal assessment as well. So essentially, if you go through the standard, each of the requirements clause-wise and each of the requirements control-wise was just there in front of us on a tool. And all we had to do was just go ahead and start pulling out things. And I'll be very honest. Initially, we did interview some of the clients. You know what? Clients were lost. Clients didn't know. Clients were just lost because the tool is the one that's taking care of their entire compliance today. And it's a good thing they lost, because that's what the tool needs to do: make clients so comfortable and peaceful about their information security that they don't really have to worry about it, and they have to worry about their actual business, their revenue generating core business. So I think that's when the whole concept of interviewing clients kind of just went off. Once I spoke to Raghu and Karthik and how they kind of felt that CertPro can be a partner with them for auditing clients on their platform, it kind of just opened up this entire new view of doing things, which we hadn't really explored earlier. Although we knew that compliance automation firms like Vanta and Drata existed, it was not something we had considered or even thought of that this could be the future. And not just to take care of compliance for clients, but also to help clients scale. So it's now not just a tool to take care of compliance, it's also going to help clients scale their businesses, because once you have the compliance off of your head onto a platform like Sprinto, you can actually sit and spend your time and energy on things that matter to your business. Because to be very honest, prior to Sprinto, if you were to ask me, and if I were to have had this conversation with my peers and co-auditors, we would have laughed off the entire concept of compliance automation being able to take care of information security frameworks. It would have been like, no, that's not possible. I mean, we have to go through the traditional ways of doing things, because then you'd get into conversation like, what about this control? How are you going to show this control on a compliance automation tool? But then after working with Sprinto, we're like, wow, everything is actually there. There's nothing that's missing. That's when we kind of felt this sense of something that could be bigger, than what we had always imagined. And Raghu and Karthik kind of gave me their vision for how they wanted to do things with Sprinto and where they wanted to take Sprinto. And the question was very simple, like, do you want to be a part of this journey? And I said, it sounds good. I definitely want to work with the, with the Sprinto team, and more personally with Karthik and Raghu, because they seem like brilliant guys with a vision that just made sense to me. And I think the rest is history.